Hello.
Happie Hippie Soul, episode 3. I don't know. I'm not good at that game. Boom. Boom.
I am stoked for this. I feel like it is very shiny on my face. And I'm like into it though. So I'm like, yeah, because I'm in front of my window and
Ooh.
there's like so much light coming in.
Yeah,
So
we're a little overcast at our place today.
it is a little overcast. And maybe that's why it feels so weird. It's not like glaringly sunny, but anyway. Okay. Jenny does not know because I think we kind of did it this way. Our last episode we did this way too. So she doesn't know my question. But okay. This question in a good way. The whole kind of theme, I guess it's more of a theme, the idea. What does it mean for you? Oh my gosh, just got way more excited because I know this is like for you particularly to answer this question. What does it mean for you to feel safe in your body? So I'll give a bit of a context. This is a bit of my own journey and then the journey of most people I work with because, well, you bring in what you're healing.
Mhm.
So a lot of people who I work with, including myself, it has taken us time to feel safe here. And sometimes you can get that sensation of feeling trapped or like, I want out. I want out. And there's all these heavy, like, it's almost like this sensation of like, I'm so constricted. And then I can start to soften and then I panic again. So there's this like, I think for me, the first step of that is learning to feel safe in your body. But how do you do that? How do you learn to feel safe here? Or maybe there's a different first step for you. Like maybe the bigger question is, how did you start to feel comfortable in being in a body? Have you always been that way? So I have like 4,000 questions.
These are great questions. And I'm like, oh, and for me, the question is, when have I not felt safe in my body? Because that's more, I majority of the time feel safe in my body.
What does that mean? Like, how do you know?
Uh, This is a hard question. This is a really hard question. So let me go back to like when I haven't felt safe in my body. And it's, oh man, for me, it always comes down to my mind. It really does come down to my mind and how I'm perceiving the situation I'm in.
Mhm.
And when I'm not feeling safe, it's because I am judging my external environment, and it usually goes against rules that I was taught. This is safe. This is what safe is. Like I remember one time driving home with my kids in the car. My ex-husband was driving, and he decided to drive on the walking trail instead of the road. He was like, and driving on the walking trail, and I felt so not safe in my body. And there was no danger. Like the trail was large enough for the car to drive on. There wasn't a cliff on either side, but it was going against all the rules that I had conceived were safe.
Oh, I love this. So now we take it to people who don't have never, like, this is where my brain's going now. If you've never felt safe here, maybe this is okay, we're gonna go woo. Okay. We're going on the woo trail, everyone. Maybe you've never felt safe on Earth. Maybe because Earth energy, this three-dimensional energy, even four-dimensional at best, right? Energy doesn't feel safe to you because it goes against everything that you know. Because you're so, and I don't remember, I don't recall what it feels like to not be here. Oh, my computer, I need to plug my computer. You get where I'm going with that? Like maybe people who have never quite felt safe have had that experience. And I mean, I can go lots of places. Obviously, people who've had trauma, they're going to really struggle with that. But I always like to go back to the first time. Like when was the first time that I felt that feeling? So when was the first time? Like what is the earliest memory that you have of not feeling safe? And and in my journey, I had to go back further than here on this earth. I
Mm,
had to go back to the first time that something I believed, and that's the key. When you said that belief part, like when it went against my beliefs
mm.
and things I felt to be true or correct, that feels unsafe. And then we go into this thing of questioning everything. And that can be this overwhelming feeling. And then you can start to feel trapped and like getting down to the nitty gritty, taking out all of the situation and saying, what is the simplest form of that? And I think the simplest form is, well, what is the belief that's happening here that makes you feel unsafe? And then let's question that belief.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, my brain is still really racking to find when it didn't feel safe in my body. Because like for me, when I don't feel safe, I retreat into my body. Like that is
Mhm.
my retreat. And also when I'm spinning out of control, it's because I'm not embodied. And so it's
Yeah.
like that's why I love yoga and dance so much, because it brings me back to, oh, this is where I'm safe, this is where I'm okay. So and like,
Well, and so people like myself, it's not so much that we weren't in our body, but it was that we were so locked inside of our body. Even coming into our body doesn't feel good.
mm,
Like you are in it. Like you're in this. I think of it as like this dungeon that you've created inside yourself that you're so blocked off from. There's no openness there. So you're like barricaded inside of yourself. So you don't feel safe in there because the outside is unsafe. And so I don't know, maybe that's a different way of wording it is you do feel safe inside of you, like so inside of you. But are you opening that? Are you closing that? Like what does that
oh,
as we
okay,
dig into this,
so
what does that look like for you?
yes, so when I feel threatened, when I feel unsafe, I do retreat with, and that's an external, it like this external, there's somebody I feel is threatening me, or they're contradicting me, or there's confrontation. I go within like a turtle in the shell. And therapists, I went to therapy for a very long time, told me I was a stonewaller. And I put up
Mhm.
a stone wall, and it was like, you stay over there and I'm going to stay over here, and I'm fine. And as long as you're over there. And so okay, feeling unsafe in my body is honestly total vulnerability. Let me tell you exactly how I feel about this situation. Even though I'm afraid, terrified, it's going to hurt your feelings, or you're not going to like and accept me anymore.
Mhm.
Oh, that is so not safe for me, because I was raised as a people pleaser, and let me take care of everybody else outside of me, so that when
Mhm.
they're all happy, then I feel safe to be me. And then I can be my wild, hippie, dancy, free flowing person. But the vulnerability, the place that doesn't feel safe is going, hey, I don't care what you guys are doing. Like I'm safe within me, and I'm just gonna be, and let you perceive that however you need to perceive that, and I don't care.
No, that you're like that makes my stomach hurt.
Yes.
This
Yeah,
makes me feel not good.
vulnerability, intimacy is terrifying, unsafe for me.
That's so interesting. That is, and I think I don't think that's uncommon. Like I'm sitting here trying to say, is that not true for me? I almost feel like that same thing is true. Like there's this sense of how can I be unapologetically me, but not try to change people, And like, because I don't want to change you. I want you to receive me and I want to receive you. And I always feel like this whole, okay, how do I feel safe in me is I have to be safe to receive whatever. Because ultimately that is it. Like I have to let go of these beliefs that anything has to be any kind of way. And I have to believe so much in what I'm doing. I have to know, like not even believe, I have to know what I'm doing is correct for me and in alignment with me. And when I'm in that space, I do feel incredibly safe wherever. And I think when we don't have that, when we haven't figured that out, that would be just so hard to walk through the world feeling like I had to make everyone else happy because I don't want to be judged by them. That's the only way I feel safe. Like that's codependency, really. Like I have to make sure you're good so that I can be me and feel safe in being me. You have to be okay. But then they don't even know what makes it, like other people don't even know what makes them okay. And that's where it's like this crazy, like spiral, and it comes down to this space of like, we can't expect other people to validate us because they can't. Mm-mm. Like they literally can't validate us.
Mm-mm. Man, I'm having so many thoughts. So many thoughts. The other day, I was talking to my mom, and she had read one of my posts where I talked about my childhood trauma. And she was like, but I thought we talked about this, and I thought that you had a happy childhood. And I was like, well, Mom, I did, because I didn't know what I didn't know. But looking back now, I can see the patterns of dysfunction that were happening. And we've talked about this. Like you and I have talked about this. We're good. I'm good with it. Like I've done the work and I'm okay. I'm still practicing healing some of that. And so it's like this, like that's kind of like the journey of life, right? Like everyone has trauma as a child. And most of the time it wasn't on purpose, right? Our parents, or our neighbors or friends were just trying to do the best they could with what they had. And we thought in the moment that I was like for me, I remember like just being so excited about like being alive that I was in church and we were in the overflow section, which is like the gym floor. And I had on these patent leather shoes and they were just making these clicky clacky sounds. And I just couldn't hold still because I was so excited. And it was like, shh, not okay. It was like, oh, I can't express my joy, right? I mean, and I wasn't like conscious enough to know that that's what it was. It was just like, oh, I'm wrong. I'm bad for being me. Yeah. Because I just want to dance and sing and express my joy. And I was like, that's not okay.
You don't do that here.
And so
we've all done that to our kids though. Like
totally.
You sit here and you think about it and you're just like, wow, I have 100% done that to I have 100% shut someone down. And that's where it really goes into the space of like, we can't take it personal that we have traumatized other people. Mm-hmm. Traumatizing means connecting. Like it has happened. I think we have to get to the space of just accepting like, wow, I didn't mean to do that to you. I'm so sorry. Let's talk about it instead of just being like, you traumatized me. You're this horrible person and you should be better and different because it's so horrible to traumatize someone ever. And it's like, but actually literally every person has done it. Not even, I was just talking about this on my Sharecast a couple of days ago. Like the whole entire world undermines our intuition, aka traumatizing us. Like it's okay. It's okay. Don't get all hung up on it. It happens. It's okay.
Well, okay. So I'm reading right now The War of Art. Okay. And in this book, he talks about resistance is not personal and resistance is natural. Like it is a part of the growing process. Yeah. Like we know this conceptually by lifting weights, right? I'm going to lift this weight that's heavier than I normally can lift so that it will tear the muscles so that when they grow back together, they grow back stronger and better than before. We do that on purpose when we're working out.
Yeah.
But for some reason, in the rest, all the other areas of our life, it's not okay. This tear down, this breakdown, this trauma, this victimizing, whatever, we take it personal. Like, and I'm totally. A couple of weeks ago, we were doing a ceremony at the studio, and the universe was like, "You shall not pass."
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't go. Like, literally put obstacles in my way. I physically could not get there. And
Yeah.
I took it so personal. I was like, "Ooh." And it's just like, ah, that's where the problem comes in, is when we read into what happens, and we're reading into it through our filters of our traumas and our childhood and our past and our emotions and our hopes and dreams and expectations. And it
Mm-hmm.
just is like, no, it just happened. It wasn't personal. And how can you learn from that? How can you move and grow instead of using it to continue this victimization cycle, to continually not feel safe in your body, continually to reach out for external validation and woe is me? How can you use it as a stepping stone to move on and up?
Well, and learning, as you were talking about that, there was a moment where you were like, and to just kind of feel like the feeling I had was you want to be a victim because you really want to connect with people, but you're doing it out of fear. Like, how about you just actually put yourself out there and then connect with people? Like, we all want connection. This is like loneliness has been this thing, right? That I've been talking about. Like, we choose to feel lonely all the time because lonely is better than feeling judged, which is so interesting to me. And I'm like, really interesting. I'm excited to observe this idea more, that it's better for me to feel judged than it is for me to feel lonely. Because lonely, I think, is why I really want to say, like, I'll go on record and say, I feel like lonely is probably the worst emotion you could, like, the worst sensation to feel is to feel alone.
Mm.
But you're not ever alone. And I know some people say, well, you die alone, but that's not true either. Like, I don't think you die alone either. So, I mean, I haven't died that I can recall, so I can't really tell you that for true. That's just what I believe is true. So it's just very, I don't know, it's so interesting why we choose. And all of it, I think, is, I mean, it's the root chakra for a reason, right? It's the first chakra for a reason. We have to feel safe in our bodies. And that is developed so early on in our lives to feel safe. And it's developed in a time that we can't even speak for ourselves. We just kind of have to receive. Like, this is before any really, I mean, we're talking about like, you're still swaddled at this point, that we're developing this root chakra and we're really finding that sensation. And you can't even speak for yourself at that point, because I don't even know, like, could you imagine trying to speak the sensations that you're feeling when you're so brand new in the world? Like, trying to describe and put words to and observe things all at the same, like, if you were just born able to speak.
It's hard for people in their 70s. And, like my mom has a hard time, and she's in her late 60s, like expressing her feelings, because we're
Could
not
you,
we're not taught that.
well, and I think it gets to the space of, like, today I was talking about it, like, the English language is so beautiful, or any language is so beautiful, because it's like this thing, like, I want you, I want you to feel what I'm feeling. Like, that's what we're saying when we're talking to someone. I want you to feel what I'm feeling. I want you to feel what's happening in my body, right? And so I'm using these words that someone told me feels like this thing, kind of, like, it's so interesting trying to, like, I don't know. I feel like this is kind of taking a bit of a rabbit hole, but it always in this umbrella of how do you feel safe? And I think if we get to the space of, like, okay, well, how do you do that? How we've now really talked about the fact that, like, safety is important and these experiences and whatever. How did we do that? How did we start to get to a place of being able to say, all right, there are very much times when I know I feel safe and very much times that I don't. And I think that you can kind of, that's like the best you can get to in this life, really, is knowing, because I don't think you're ever going to get anywhere where you feel totally safe all the time. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not that old yet, I guess. Like, I'm not 102. I'm not there. I'm not at that level.
Yeah.
What are your tips and tricks? What are your thoughts on, okay, cool. I'm vibing, ladies. I get it. What the fuck do I do now with that? And to me, it's this is where somatic meditation came in for me. Is I actually think the first step for me was to feel the sensations in my body at all, because there's a lot of people who don't feel anything on the inside because they haven't let anything in, and they have like it's like there's compartments. It's not one thing, you've compartmentalized. So I have the inside of my body and the outside of my body, and neither one of them is talking to each other. And so I'm not receiving, but I'm also not really giving. So I think that if you are really resonating with this and you have not created some kind of body style meditation, may it be, like you said, yoga for you. Yoga was a big, I really was practicing yoga at the beginning of this practice for me too, or some kind of dance, some kind of somatic meditation if that movement is too intense for you and you want to be okay.
Mirror work is really, really powerful because you're looking at your reflection. And so you're syncing the left and right hemispheres of the brain, because not only do you see it, and then like I like to like, okay, this is my body, and say these affirmations while looking and hearing and speaking creates that. But I want to go back to the root chakra for a moment, because this concept of safety there is also, the root chakra is your home, your tribe, like this tribal genetic DNA that still exists within us, right? We still have this need for this collective tribe. We can't survive on our own. And anytime you get kicked out of the tribe or you choose to leave the tribe, oh my God, that's imminent death, because you can't survive on your own. But you have to, like, that's where, I mean, this is the whole hero's journey, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. The whole 21 arcana, major arcana in the tarot is the hero's journey. Start out as a fool. I don't know what I'm doing. But at the end, you conquer the world, your little piece of anyway. And then you return and share to the tribe what you learned. But there's that terrifying feeling of rejection and isolation and death, like literal physical death. That if I do something that's different from my tribe, like I left the religion, I'm gonna die.
Well, and even a deeper thought. So I was listening to this. So if you're sitting here and you're like, I don't know that I've had that experience. Okay, I'm listening to this. I don't even know where I heard this, but it makes so much sense to me. Think indigenous people, right? We're thinking in tribes of 100 all over the place. Okay, if at the age, and then we're going to also talk about the fact that the age of like 13 to 24, that was being very fertile years, you are able to make babies, and we need to reproduce to survive. We need to create a community. And those years you can't be in your tribe, otherwise you're just inbreeding. So that's this phase of time where you really start to reject you as a person. It's not so much also about people rejecting you or you leaving long term. You as a person. Like now all my mamas and my daddies are reading this and they're thinking, oh my God, my children rejected me at the age of 13. That happened. Think about it. And then I think about myself, like when I turned about that same age, I turned on my parents too. And they became so stupid. They did not know anything. And then around the age 24, I'm like, oh, come back here. Actually, you did know shit. Come to me. Come here. And because then I've had my babies in that time, right? I've connected with a person. I'm on this path of reproduction. And now I need to rejoin my tribe because it takes a village to raise. And how interesting is that? Our bodies genetically, whether you had this experience like Jenny's describing, or you like didn't have it in that big way, you had it. Everyone rejects. Therefore, everyone is rejected because you're pulling out, because genetically you have to do that. Otherwise, you're inbreeding.
There's no evolution. You can't evolve. The greater gene can't carry on, and the lesser one die out if you keep that. Like, I mean, on a metaphorical level, that is just like, oh.
I just heard this and I was like, oh my God, okay, I have grace. I have grace for the children of the world, because it's like they literally cannot help it. We literally cannot help it. They need to get this confidence, right? They need to have confusion before confidence. They need to be able to find themselves. We all reject. I mean, if you want to talk about, if we want to get into this idea of evolution in our lifetimes, right? Our souls are all whatever. I don't know how souls are created, and not. I'm intrigued if people have theories about that. But we all have soul, and I do believe that there are souls of different ages. So, did we reject our family in other dimensions to come here? Is this adolescent? I don't know. Just kind of crazy hippie thoughts,
I mean, as above, so below, as within, so without. I mean, and like the religion I was raised in did believe in the war in heaven, and that a third of the hosts of heaven chose to follow this one leader, and the 2/3 chose the other.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just saying.
I mean, resistance is futile, right? Like, this is like rejection is resistance.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
it's just a no.
Yeah.
It's just a no that says this is not your path. And that's where I feel like where you can truly be in a space of omnist, you can truly be in a space of everything is right and everything is wrong. When you really start to see that this rejection thing, this rejection thing is just a guide for you. It doesn't, the rejection piece, that really has nothing to do with the other person at all, which is very interesting. So ultimately, because we think rejection is what makes you feel unsafe in your body, this lonely feeling, right? We've rejected being here most of the time. And in the case of a session I had recently, I feel, and the feeling that like all of the energy that was around that room was this rejection of them being in this body.
Mm.
And I think that is ultimately what gets us to the space of not feeling safe in our body, is this rejection piece. And why?
Well, there's a
Why
lot.
don't
I
we
think there's a
say?
lot that goes into that. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, where do I even start? I mean, socially, right? I mean, like, let's look at all the magazines and movie stars and commercials. It's just like you have to look and act and have these things to be successful or loved or worthy of uh, whatever. And
Sure. Those are all beliefs.
yes, and most people don't fit into that. And then also, it's like, well, I mean, you get into
Even the
like,
celebrities don't fit into that because
ah,
their bodies were edited.
right? Yeah. And then there's that whole like Freudian concept with the, mother complex and the father complex. And I'm not my mom, I'm not my dad. I'm a little bit of both, but I can't be accepted by either fully. This is a really interesting topic.
I think you really have to think about it. I really think that we're not going to be able to say step by step, this is how you feel safe in your body. I can tell you my journey, but maybe that's your journey, maybe it's not. And a lot of my journey has been contemplation. Like, okay, why that? What happened there? Understand, like, how can I understand the energy around me and have that feel almost at, I mean, this is like your rising sign. We were talking about your chart. Like, I first need to feel this balance. Then I can come into my body. This is your first house. What's in your first house? What is that sign? And how are you relating? But again, all of this is just passive contemplation. This isn't an answer because you have to question everything, and not in a bad way. And I think when I used to hear that, I used to think about it as such a negative thing, like questioning everything. But I don't feel like it's such a bad thing. It's like, oh, I just want to know. Like, I want to know. I want to question because I want you to tell me. Like, tell me a story of this so that I can feel it. Tell me a story of this moment so that I can feel it. That's what I mean. That's what I want when I ask a question. It's not to tell me this is yes or no. It's that I just want to hear the whole story.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so yoga in Sanskrit means to yoke or unite. And the union that we're working on yoking and uniting is body, mind, and spirit. And like, I guess this would be for me a definition of total safety when my mind and body are connected, and then the spirit can also play, then it's like game on. There's nothing that can go wrong. That's that alignment piece that we do talk about so often. And it's that oh, I have a physical body. I also have a spirit, and I've got this mind. And they all can kind of go in their own directions. Like, I can be walking down the street and my mind can be at my house like 5 months ago. And my spirit's like, hey, just let me know when you're ready, because I'm here and I got some stuff for you. But the spirit has to play by 3D physical rules. And so it cannot connect to the body unless the mind is connected to the body. And this is where the meditation practice comes in. Or like for me, that was dancing in yoga, because I would get so lost in the moves and where I was moving next and how I was going to breathe and how I was going to get ready for that next leap or turn, that I had to be so present that the spirit was just like, ah.
Well, I think that's so, I really think that's true. And for me, it showed up in the somatic work. Like, and even when I'm working on someone, if they are really in their body, if they can feel the sensations and energy in their body, they are not panicking ever. Like, I can take you from like extreme panic to settled in a very minuscule amount of time. And I can also take you back like to that. And so when you're in, like you said, like alignment, when you're in alignment, when you can find, and that there's contemplation that gets you there, but when you're in it, you know. And I think as time goes on, you become more secure in how to get back to that. But you got to find your magic formula. You got to find your magic piece that gets you there. And it's not the same for everyone. But I agree. I can, if you are in your body, you are not panicking.
Yeah.
It's just is all the things here, is all the things in the middle, is mind, body, and soul in the middle.
Yeah.
And are you allowing? Because if you're, and you can have yourself in your body and you can feel if there's a spirit, but if your mind's over here, then that's not happening. You can have your mind in here and your body, like you know your body is here, but if you're not receiving, so it's very interesting.
Yeah. Embodiment. If you are, I have this written down somewhere. Really good. It's really, really good. Let me get it. It was at an Anodea Judith workshop, and she's the one who wrote like Eastern Body, Western Mind, and the Wheels of Life, the Chakra Wheels of Life. Like, she's like my chakra guru. She was my main teacher. But she said, we'll get there to the root, because it's root chakra. Well, maybe I'm not going to find it. But if you're not in your body, you're a nobody. To be a somebody, you must embody this body now. Something like that.
I feel like I've heard you say it like that before.
Yeah.
I was thinking this thought in my brain is, you know how we say enlightenment?
Hmm.
What about alignment? All I am meant to be right now. All, is that a thing? Did I just do a thing?
You just did a thing. You just did a thing.
All I am meant to be. I had the B part. You can take that out if you want. All I meant. Alignment. All I am meant.
Ooh,
I
I
mean,
like that.
other people have had to say that before, right? Like, not just right now.
May just be a Jasmine thing. It's a new thing now.
I feel like that almost feels complete to me. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I want to share a couple of things that I tell clients to do when they come to me. Their root chakra is like, wow, that are super simple to just try, and you can do anytime, anywhere. And one of them is like simply just tapping your body and try to get as much of your body as you can, and go, my body, I'm here now. My body, my body, I'm here now. Another one that I really love is I love when I feel safe. Because when we say an affirmation like, I'm safe, when you currently do not feel safe, your brain is going to reject it. It's going to be like, no. But when you go, oh, I love when I feel safe. I love when I feel safe. I love when I feel safe. The brain goes, yeah, we really do love when we feel safe. How do we get there? Right? So just the I love when I feel safe. I love when I feel safe. And for me, I'm always like, I am such a physical kinesthetic person. And that's why this conversation really challenged me, because I'm like, the only time I don't feel safe is when I'm not embodied, when I'm not in my body. And that's when I'm like, oh, I don't feel safe. It's, I need to come back into my body. I'm currently not in my body.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of tapping, and I'll just tap my chest with my heart, or I'll, with my fingers, tap my thigh, or big, deep belly breaths and feel the rise and fall. I am here now. I am here
I
now.
always I always tell people who struggle with breath control, breathe into your butt. Like just breathe in, like, and you have to be funny about it because you get some serious, and I'm just like, just breathe into your bubble. Like just breathe down in there. And then it's gonna, because you can't be panicky and laughing out. Like, you know what I mean? You gotta like break that for just a second. And just it's funny. It's okay. Like you're fine. You're not dying. If you're laughing about this, you're not dying. It's not that serious. If you can switch to laughing, like with one little joke, you're fine. And because that breath is so powerful, that chi, that life force energy, breathing that down, and it's the same as belly breathing, but sometimes people struggle with that. So I'm like, breathe into your butt. Everyone knows what their butt is. Like we can all find that. Breathe into your butt and to your root chakra. Really, really, it's saying breathe into your root chakra. Breathe into that like the sciencey part of that is breathing that red energy and putting your intention into that area, which already knows how to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
makes you yawn almost immediately.
Yeah. There's a paradox that is half formed about this safe concept. So I'm just going to start talking and see what comes out. And the paradox is that, like, just zoom out for a minute. We are on a planet that is spinning 7,000 miles an hour around a giant ball of fire and gas. And like a quarter of an inch in one direction or another, we would die. We'd either burn up too hot or we'd freeze too cold. And the paradox is like our safety is an illusion. Are you really safe? I mean, we're 7,000 miles an hour flying through space right now. Like, are you really safe? Can you really feel safe? And also, doesn't that make you feel like, oh man, like if I can like really conceptualize that concept, then I'm really always safe everywhere I go, because I'm not really ever safe anywhere.
It's all or nothing, as above, so below, all or nothing. Yeah. I think it's just all you can do is be right here. Just be in this moment. That's what you signed up for when you chose to come here, is to be in this body with this body all the time. All I am meant to be right here.
Alignment.
Yeah.
Oh, that is fun. Yeah, and according to Hathor in the Sophia Code, she says that the reason we chose to incarnate into a human body is because our oversoul experiences every humanness, everything physical, mental, emotional, spiritual that we go through on this earth. Our oversoul experiences it as cosmic, electro ecstatic bliss. Read orgasm, orgasmic energy. Like seriously, like, oh my, I stubbed my toe last night and I was like, ah, and I was just thinking, oh my God, my oversoul's going, ah.
Well, and I feel like people who, this is like the light part, right? People who do somatic meditation who've been practicing for even a short amount of time, they can tell you when they're in it. And it's just like this, like even in here now, it's like, oh, this is nice. Like you're just feeling it. You're feeling it in your body and it feels good. But there's not like a I'm I don't have a word for what that is. Like I always try to describe to people like, yeah, I just say you know when you know, and you will know when you feel it the first time. And once you feel it the first time, it's so easy to recall. It's so much easier to recall it. Think about when you rode your bike the first time. The first time you got the balance thing on the bike, you got it. But like trying to get there for the first time was just like, oh, this is shit. Like, so don't think that if you're listening, don't think, oh my God, I'm never gonna get there. You will get there. It won't take forever, I promise. And when you get there, everything, all this other crap really becomes like, oh, this is just fun. Like it's kind of mental play. Like it's not really, I don't know. I really don't know that I take any of it so serious. I think I take it like, oh, this is a fun conversation. This is more exciting. It's
Well, it's
like
like last
Pete,
night in class, somebody's like, Jenny, do you just like live your life as a science experiment? And I was like, exactly. Yes, that is exactly how I feel. It's like, okay, how can I play with this? I wonder what would happen if I tried it this way. Ooh, I didn't like that. Okay, what if I try it this way? Ooh, that was fun.
wow.
What if I do it again? Ooh, didn't have the same results. Interesting. I wonder why. And it is like, for me, a total science experiment. Everything for me is a science experiment. And how can, and like that's the ultimate reason we came here, was to experience.
Mm-hmm.
Embodiment, experiment. We are meant to experience embodiment.
Alignment. All I am meant to experience, and I don't know. We're stretching. I think that too. I think it's like for me, I love this shit because it's like I want to feel things deeper so that I can describe them better. And then I want, not only do I want to feel them, now I'm jazzed and I want you to also feel it. Like when I feel a sensation, I'm like, okay, I wish like if I had magic powers and for real, if I could have any magic power, it would be that I could touch someone and they could feel like and I am working on it because you know Reiki and all. But like for me to touch them and like instantly for them to feel exactly what I feel. Like I think that's why I do Reiki because I want that. Like and the person has to be willing to receive. There's lots of things that go into that case because I think that I can do that sometimes. But like I want to touch your hand and you to touch my hand and be like, this is halababoo, whatever new word it is. You know what I mean? Like, this is what that is. And I kind of wonder, like, I don't know if you ever think this, and this is such a tangent. How did we name things for the first time? Like, do two people come together and say, they touch their hand, they touched their hands together and they said, this is this. And I saw I'm you guys will judge me for saying that I watch this show. Probably no one's gonna judge me. But if you do, whatever, I don't care. I was watching Family Guy And there's this episode of Family Guy where I think it was Family Guy. I don't know, whatever. It was one of those silly ass shows that are like just wildly inappropriate. Um, and they were like doing like a Garden of Eden episode, and they were like trying to like, okay, what are we gonna call this? And they were like trying to name an apple. And they were just saying all, and I'm like, I really think about this is not the first time that I've had that thought of how do we decide? How did that happen? What two people came together, or was it like a tribe of people? And like we all touched half hands and we said, that's what this is. How do we know?
You
Like,
know,
how did we get how did we get that many people to agree that that is what it's called? Like, could you imagine?
and who's the person that was like, yep, this is edible. No, nope, this is poison. Don't eat that. Or like, those little weird pink things that hang at the bottom of cows' bellies. I bet there's some good shit in there.
Well,
What
and then we can
mofo discovered that?
I just wonder, like, who did these things for the first time?
But
And
like in your whole like, oh, touch and transfer thought that came to me was like, we're gonna go into quantum here because like, right, we've all been taught like this is blue, right? Woo, blue, this is blue. The blue you see is probably totally different than the blue I see.
I will never know.
We'll
I'll
never
never be
know.
able to. I can't be like, okay, it looks like this. Like, I can't describe blue to you.
No, because it's blue.
Mhm.
That is the descriptive word. And so it looks like the sky. Well, I'm going to look at the sky and still see the blue through my filter and lens. So, like, even that transferring of like emotions, it's still you have to go, what is that for me? What is joy for me? What is safety in my body for me? And people can explain it all day long, but until you experience it, you're not going to know.
Well, and to go to symbol color, and it's like there are colors that make you feel more safe.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole color spectrum that we're told this is what helps you, right? And then there's your own personal color spectrum of like, I was telling someone, I was like, red is considered the color of safety, which is really funny because it's also like emergency.
Danger, danger.
I think of it as safety. And like even in our offices right now, right? I have a super dark office. Jenny has a light office. That makes Jenny feel calm and safe. To me, I does not make me not feel calm. I mean, I'm not like over here like, oh my God, this is wild. It just isn't necessarily what's calming to me.
Yeah.
And then I have
Neutral
brown,
colors.
dark, and neutral, and that's what makes me feel good. So like even in the simplest thing of saying what colors you like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you, I can't say this is brown is the color of safety. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You have to experiment to experience embodiment. There's something there. I'm gonna have to write this down and workshop. I'm gonna workshop this. To experiment before you can experience embodiment.
I'm curious to see where we go with this.
Yeah, I'm gonna percolate on this for a couple of days or weeks or months. We'll see. Or it'll just save and be like, yeah, you got what you needed out of it. So feeling safe, feeling safe. I love when I feel safe. I love when I feel safe. I love when I feel safe. And some kind of physical movement. And a lot of times I'll even like, if I'm in a moment, I'll stand up and literally just turn the other direction. So I see something physically different. My body's in a physical different space. And like, okay. Oh, or I go upside down to get a literal different perspective. So
I'm very much my breath. Like I have to find my breath. Like I have to find my breath and I have to release all tension in my body. That's a big thing for me. Which means I have to find the sensation. Like there's a sensation, there's a very clear sensation that makes me feel like I'm in alignment. I'm in this moment. I'm here right now in this space. And it just is like, oh, I have to find the breath. And don't be upset if it takes you, if you have to keep coming back to this. I think that's a really important piece too. Like, if you feel uncomfortable and unsafe, and this is something you're working on, don't be afraid to get a teacher or a guide to help you. Don't be afraid to go to classes because there's other people, I promise you, going through the exact same thing. And don't be afraid to have to do this and have to center 16 times in one day. That's okay. Like, you're learning. It's a new muscle that you're learning.
Yeah.
And I promise that you won't have to do that forever. But I also can promise that you'll have to do it
You
forever.
will have to continue to do it forever.
But it won't have to be the same. It won't be the same. You'll actually start to enjoy it. You'll start to find peace in it.
Yeah.
Just like my whole vibe, like just find peace.
Yeah. It'll
Yeah.
become just like a part of your normal self-talk. Like, oh, whoa, I'm out of alignment. I'm not feeling safe. Okay.
Yeah.
We're okay. Everything's okay. I love when I feel safe. And sometimes that anxiety feeling is actually masquerading as, or the excitement is actually masquerading as anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Truth.
So
That's
that,
very,
that could be a whole nother topic.
maybe that's next week.
Maybe.
If it comes up next week again.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Good.
I feel good, man. Let
Yeah.
us know what you think.
Mhm.
Let us know if you have something you have a question for us. We like those too. We're happy to make up our own, but if you have one you want us to talk about, let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. And share your tips. Like, what do you do to help you feel safe in your body? What are some of the things you're tried and true that you've done? And by sharing them may give other people ideas to try. Because like, what I've been doing isn't working very much anymore, or I don't even know where to start. But that sounds actually really interesting. I'm
Mhm.
not an ecstatic dancer or yogi like Jenny, and breath work is like whatever for me, and I don't, like, share this. Let's We want to build community here, so we'd love to
Yeah.
hear your take. And there's no right or wrong, because you experience your life your way, and we can't be up here and like, nope, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. We just want you to do something.
Yeah.
Do something. Try something. Okay.
Yeah.
We love you guys.
Mhm.
I'll see you later.
Peace.
Bye.